Hello, Cherie Hanson here, managing to survive through this heat dome that is over us. My deck has been 54 days, and which means blisters on your feet if you walk on it. So it's basically unusable. I have allowed myself to let go of achieving in this very hot weather because I've come to see that the best thing to do in some circumstances is to surrender. It's just like, it's too damn hot. That musical? Hey, yeah? And what I was thinking about today when I was working my way through the Wim Hof breath work was tendencies. I think of my garden when I think of tendencies. And what I mean by that is there is a certain direction a plant will lean towards. It'll lean towards the sun. It'll send the vines out for its future growth, for its future fruiting in certain directions, and the vines will wrap around other things. And if we can observe ourselves as if we were organic and not a machine, not artificial intelligence or a robot server or some kind of wind-up toy or some kind of machine that just needs to be programmed and then it's going to do what it's going to do. Instead, if we can look at ourselves as something organic and we realize that we can observe our tendencies, they're tender. They aren't violent movements toward a goal. They're not some kind of samurai armored sword slashing direction that we're headed in, but just our tendencies. And it's really useful if you have the book Atomic Habits, because Atomic Habits talks about how you lay down a habit in your mind, which puts you in the right direction, which points you toward the things that you are becoming. And these tendencies are things like, I have a tendency to take care of the house. I will clean the house. I will get everything done in place. And I will take care of my body. I will rest my body. I will do Wim Hof breath. I will do the 10-minute cold water plunge. And so I don't struggle with these things. It's not a gladiator battle to the death with myself and myself. You know, when you're like, I'm doing this and I hate it, but I'm doing it and I don't like myself, and how do I stop myself? And all of this unnecessary drama that can come into our lives. But I think one thing we can trust is if we lay down some atomic habits so that there is a kind of smoothness to the things that we do and the things that we think and the way we treat ourselves. That smoothness, that flow is actually the goal. We think the goal is, when I get there. But the truth is, the goal is how you got there. Because how you got there shows who you are becoming. And if you are gentle with yourself and you're in a place where you think, man, I've got a lot of really good habits in my life, then you can move on to do what they call stacking habits. that means, all right, I've got these good habits. I'm going to chain one good habit to another habit. So a good habit I have is I like to go out and, take care of my front yard, my garden in back. At nightfall, go and have an inspection. And then I can stack going for a walk when it's cooler on top of that. How often do you have to stack it? Well, have any of you ever had one of those clasps you're trying to put like your keys on, or you have a necklace and you want to clasp it and it's just teeny tiny and you can barely feel it with your fingers and you're like, oh my God, I'm trying to hook these two together. But we persist until we finally get the connection between the two habits. Now your flow is longer. It's not just this thing, but I do this thing and then this thing and then this thing. And it's like watching a vine grow on my plants, on my squash plants and my cucumber plants. And you just go out there and look, oh, it's putting out a vine. Now it's going to find support for the vine. And then it's going to start fruiting. And that's what we all want, right? Don't we all want a fruit? I want my blossom to turn into something more substantial. And so we walk on the earth learning how to walk on the earth. And we need to be very, very kind with ourselves. It does nothing to help us step into our new, compassionate, evolved cucumber or squash or tomato if we are critical of ourselves, if we are lashing out and giving ourselves, reports. The boss brings you into the office and sits you across the desk, and they have this sheet and they have all these aspects of how you should do the job. Well, your ego does that. You can say things that you can tell how strong your ego is, because if you did something, but your ego comes in and said, but it was too slow. You didn't get to it fast enough, or you didn't do it long enough, or it wasn't good enough. Then you're caught in the gladiator death fight between you and you. And how can you ever get to a place where you are cheering yourself on if you're just so critical that everything you do has something wrong about it? So stepping back is where wisdom is. How about you look at your life and ask the question, what tendencies do I have? I have a tendency to be on time. I have a tendency to be kind. I have a tendency to smile at my neighbors. Maybe some days I don't, but generally I have a tendency to do it. And the other thing is, as we're extending the flow of our habits, we're going to find more and more things to congratulate ourselves about. So when we walk out and look at the garden, we go like, oh my God, look at the tomatoes and the squash and the cucumbers. Those plants were surviving, they were stretching out, they were reaching, they were organically building on what they did before, which is what we do. We organically build on what we were able to do before. We need to be so kind to ourselves. Right now, on the face of the earth, there's so much chaos. There's so much anxiety. There's so much that we see around us, that alarms us, that sets off our smoke detector, our fear, our air raid siren, our ambulance coming down the street. So how do we deal with that? We deal with that by making the self a place that is more secure. And we watch our tendencies and we congratulate ourselves at how far we have come. So thank you so much. I appreciate you watching my videos. I appreciate you making comments. Do subscribe. It really helps get the message out to other people. If you are subscribing, it will come up more in the feed and other people will find it and it might be of help to them. So what we do in our own life affects other people always, always, always. If you want a psychic reading, if you want a card reading, if you want to have life coaching, get a hold of me. I am doing that consistently. I'm able to, because I got lost, because I fell off the horse bridge into the gully. I know what it's like, and I can reassure you that you're going to get out of it and you're going to be moving forward. Just look at your tendencies. Thank you. As always, I say, and I mean it from my heart, I really appreciate you. Thank you.